we're ice cold. How are you making out, Len Robbins? How are your, how do your opinions go versus results?
I hesitate to bring this up because you never want to throw salt in the wound.
Yeah.
Of a fellow wagerer. But I went 5-0 last week.
Wow, really? Oh,
of course.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Doing the winning.
Yeah.
I went 5-0. I went 1-0 on my best bet. I think I'm like 28-16 on the NFL season on best bets.
Nice.
And just to let people know out there, dear God, who art in Vegas, hallowed be thy name. Thy wager comes, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven. I want to thank you for showing me some grace and gratitude last weekend, and I will sing your praises till the day I die. Very, very important.
Yes.
To stay humble.
The literal translation of
humble.
my Haftorah at my bar mitzvah. That was brilliantly done by you. I had to read it which was not easy.
Yeah.
Len Robbins, a New York extra with us here. 5-0. Yeah, I mean, that's not salt in the wound. I mean, well, why don't you just castrate me here on the air? Guy's shooting blanks like a cigar. I mean.
Yeah, look, that to me is the worst thing in life, right? To go through life as a gelding.
Yes.
Yes.
Shooting blanks. I mean, that's all we're doing here.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
A very pleasant good morning, everybody. I'm Jeff Deforrest. Very happy to be back with you here on ION Channel, along with one Mike Lubitz, who was it the old Barbra Streisand thing? Mike Lubitz, A Star Is Born.
I don't know. I had fun.
No input from Jack Namer saying, "Hey, this kid is brilliant." Nothing. Hey, listen, Defo, take your time. Don't come back from Las Vegas. Show's going fine. It's operating at an extremely high level without you. None of that transpired. But good to be back with you here. Now, you're wondering, hey, what's with the Iona College shirt? Which I believe came courtesy of Rick Pitino, although I'm not exactly sure that Rick had a hand in the thing, because we got the shirt from the lovely and talented Leslie Visser, who's provided me probably with about half of my TV wardrobe here, audio and video streaming. This is half of it, and the other half is sitting in a canvas bag on my bed, because you're saying this is a common occurrence, delays on flights out of Las Vegas, Mike Lubitz. I don't recall having that experience of constantly being delayed, but I had a flight delay yesterday. We were supposed to get in maybe around 11 o'clock Eastern time. We ended up getting home about 2 in the morning, which you do the math on that, people. That's not a lot of sleep while also factoring in the equation of jet lag. It's like trying to consider, is it a home field advantage for the Rams to be playing at home in the Super Bowl? I would have to think yes. And that's why that spread's a little bit curious. Do you think the line makers are according the Los Angeles Rams the usual 3 points in making their line when they're taking on Cincinnati in the Super Bowl because they're actually playing a home game as the visiting team? And that's kind of an interesting proposition. We had that debate because would the line really be pick'em, Rams in Cincinnati for this ball game? Is Cincinnati garnering that much respect after the complete meltdown of the Kansas City Chiefs in that AFC Conference Championship game? Just some serious ugliness. And, that's always going to be a sports talk debate. I think I saw Stephen A. Smith screaming about this with Michael Irvin, which that is really a scream festival.
Worst combo.
I think we need to go more in that direction, Lubie. Just screaming to the point where I'm not sure, a very attractive woman, not uncommon on these debate shows, TV debate shows, to have kind of a hot babe in the middle.
Yep.
And then she starts chiming in. So it's like 3 people screaming at once, kind of like this show sometimes gets every night. We try not to do that, right? I mean, you don't want to have like 100 people talking at once. It doesn't make any sense. And especially when it's at such an escalated level and heightened level of, trying to create tension. Does screaming louder mean that you're making your point better? I've always considered that to be a fallacy. But nonetheless, in sports, that seems to be very much in vogue. And the debate was, did Cincinnati win it or did Kansas City choke?
The latter.
And you would have to say it's a little bit of both. But, I'm looking very much at the
Yeah, they choked. They choked. Look, the Bengals took advantage of the opportunities, but the Chiefs, Mahomes was missing dudes wide open in the flat. He's never done that.
Well, and he gets picked off by a lineman which
Yes, yeah, he
is
threw it right at
always an insulting thing to have happen, for a guy that's going to go down as one of the greats of all time, possibly. Although, some of that was diminished by that second half performance. And then, of course, you had the fat man, Andy Reid, who's not as fat as he was. I don't know that it's even a fair thing to refer to Andy Reid as a
And he's
fat man
still-
anymore. I mean, if you didn't see Andy Reid prior to him being in his current physical status, would you say, wow, man, that guy is just enormously fat
Yes.
and overweight? You would?
Yeah, he's still
I mean,
had,
it's not like he's the
he's still has
epitome
size.
of
He's still got
fitness
the-
or anything, but
Yes,
he's not like rotund with like a giant belly like he used to
Maybe.
have. So we're questioning whether that's even the menu from a Chinese restaurant that he has on the back of the plate chart. But it may as well have been, Andy. We love Andy Reid. I mean, interesting story, excellent coach, well respected. Most teams would be served well, probably to have Andy Reid as their head coach. But what was that mashugana happening just before the half in a playoff game where points aren't necessarily going to be at a premium, but how do you let the clock elapse and evaporate completely and not be able to kick a field goal before halftime at the very least when you're sitting down there at the 2-yard line, which turned out to be a tragedy. Now, you can't necessarily say that, all of the circumstances that followed in the second half would have been exactly the same if the score had been different and the dynamic of the game had changed where Cincinnati was still chasing a 3-point deficit. We have no idea how that would have gone. You can't take an event that occurs during the course of a ball game or anything for that matter and determine that it had a complete impact on the subsequent series of events. We don't know what the strategy would have been for Cincinnati. Would they have played it differently, maybe gone for the lead if they were trailing by 6 instead of 3 or whatever? And sure enough, that turned out to be fatal, though, did it not? Not getting any points before halftime when you're sitting at the 2-yard line with 9 seconds to go. Plenty of time to run a play. And then guess what, Andy? Field goal. There's nothing wrong with being up 24-3 at halftime in the conference championship game, even if you didn't anticipate that your offense would go completely in the tank and end up going in reverse. But, wow, you talk about blown strategies. We talk about this all the time, where coaches make blunders in terms of clock management and strategic decisions that are monumental. We've seen a lot of it. Did we mention this guy Staley out of the Los Angeles Chargers regime there? Ugliness, Brandon Staley. I mean, how many of these decisions did he make that backfired, blew up in his face like an exploding cigar? And Reid, I mean, he really got caught in one there. As the time runs out, the Chiefs put no points on the board. They still seemingly are in comfortable command of the ballgame. Cincinnati's doing nothing. They're down 21-3. But this is a story we've seen before with the Chiefs, even this season, where the second half is not necessarily as favorable as the first one. And what'd they generate? 3 yards of offense in the second half? I think they had like 33 yards or something.
Well, the biggest problem was that the Bengals had just scored to make it 21-10, but the Chiefs had gone right down. That was the thing that was the most frustrating, if you're a Chiefs fan, is the Bengals had just scored. They were getting excited, and in a minute, they literally got the ball with a minute left. The Chiefs went down the field and had a touchdown. And if they score there, you literally just erase any momentum the Bengals thought they had, and you get the ball out of half. The fact that it's now 11 points instead of 18. And then Mahomes greedily, I don't know what the hell he was doing. I've never seen that before. Like, you either go in the end zone or you kick a field goal. No one ever throws a screen. I don't care how good Tyreek Hill is. You're not throwing a screen.
Yeah.
Like, that was weird.
Series of blunders.
It's now 11. And then you're right. The second half, I think they had like 40. Like, until that last drive, I think they had like 40 yards. Like, they
kind of rewatching the second half on the JetBlue flight back last night from Las Vegas. Plenty of time, actually, to take it in and dissect the entire ball game. But, I thought I saw a stat somewhere late in the fourth quarter. They had accumulated about 33 yards of offense through the second half. I mean, this is the explosive Kansas City Chiefs. So that was kind of wild. And the debate, of course, was did Kansas City choke or Cincinnati just come on and play a brilliant ball game? And it's a little bit of both, but you would have to have a serious lean towards chokeology. You could say, well, the other team, they were able to find a way to stop Mahomes, and they figured it out. And exactly the same script. I mean, you could have taken the same script that they had for the previous meeting, where Kansas City was dominant, and then all of a sudden in the second half couldn't do anything right and ended up blowing the ball game. And very much the same scenario as happened in the conference championship game. That was great. And then the other game was of great intrigue also, because it's funny how everybody's singing the praises now of Matthew Stafford. And he came within an eyelash of just gifting the game. If defensive backs weren't out there, I mean, what did they hire? Roberto Duran? Ladies and gentlemen, Manos de Piedro Roberto. I mean, the hands of stone. How is it possible? A guy throws a pass right down the middle of the field. This is going to ice the game if this interception is made.
Oh,
it's
done.
over.
Yeah, done.
The Rams would have lost. San Francisco would have won. And Jersey Kyle Martinez with a gutsy play put $100 on the 2 underdogs on the money line. A parlay that was coming back to the tune of 9-1. 9-1.
Oh, no. He was so close.
We're sitting in some Gordon Ramsay joint, but it's not fun going to a Gordon Ramsay themed restaurant and or owned. I don't know. Is he just lending his name to these restaurants, Gordon Ramsay, or does he have any input into what actually goes on there? What do you think, Gordon Ramsay?
I'm thinking he's
got
a
couple
name.
of them. He's got one in, I guess it's Bally's and slash the Paris, that whole complex there. They're kind of one and the same because they're connected. And, and very much under the same operation there, Caesars. Of course, running both places there. In fact, Caesars, I think, runs the entire town. No wonder they're going to have Jamie Foxx on their commercial to try and promote the fact that you can now plunge your guts out on their phone app. Betting very much a theme in Las Vegas, as you might imagine, Lubie. So I was right at home with all of this. And my favorite thing about watching football in a Vegas sports book is as soon as halftime happens, you figure everybody's running to the bathroom, and they're all running to the windows to re-up and bet on the second half. You're like, I better go to the bathroom now, right? Everybody's getting up, and they're all just standing there waiting. The minute the bell rings to start plunging on the second half, boom. That's where they're at. I guess a lot of people are doing it on their phone apps now, too. But, wow, I mean, you talk about the saturation. How is it that Florida, again, defeated this thing?
Yes,
Lubie?
Amazing. And for 2 years, like, there's literally no reasoning behind it. None. Everyone wants it at this point that I've talked to. Everyone. Unless
it's so ridiculous. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I mean, first they made this bogus package there with the Seminoles, which, fine, they're entitled to whatever it is, and that's great, but they're going to be a part of it. But how do you shut out everybody else with a clandestine meeting with your man, Ron DeSantis? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they've made this announcement, which is kind of crazy. But nonetheless, I mean, it led to more turmoil and lawsuits and flashing back and forth. And sure enough, I mean, the thing's done now, cooked. So Florida is going to be in the Stone Age.
So stupid.
There'll already be some other thing going on at the time. I mean, it won't even...
Yeah, it'll move on.
We'll get gambling in, but it'll already be at another level, right? It'll turn into some kind of degenerate Bitcoin where nobody... Do I really have any money in the bank? I don't know. What's this stuff worth?
What was
Not
great
exactly
is, like, the day it happened, like, hours before, earlier that morning, it had been, like, announced in New York, like, just over the weekend, had done, like, 1.2 billion.
Yes.
Like, over the weekend.
Believe me, there was no shortage of action out there in Las Vegas. It was absolutely fantastic. But, no, great place to take in that kind of thing. I think my next trip, I'm going to do it this year, I believe, Lubie. Because the minute you leave Las Vegas, it's not like you're Nick Cage and you leave there in a pine box. The minute you leave Las Vegas, I believe, if you had any kind of success on the trip, and even if it just resulted in you not getting completely buried, which
that's...
For one of the rare changes, I mean, I'm spending 4 days in Las Vegas. I came back. It wasn't any substantial windfall of cash that I came back with, but enough, to make you think, wow, not only did I have a great time, but I came back with like 2 times the bankroll that I brought, so I made myself a couple of dimes while I was out there.
Nice.
Which is great. No ATM visits, nothing. Was never really in any great jeopardy of losing my ass. I mean, the second day I connected pretty well in a race book. And, I thought, well, I'm going to nurse this the rest of the way. Because, I mean, is that responsible gambling or is that just being a flat-out wimp?
No, responsible. You're talking to the wrong person. Jersey will say wimp. I think responsible. I'm proud of you. Good job. Go Def.
Well, that's my strategy is like, every day is a new day in gambling. It really is. Every day is a new day. Every day you start from scratch. Because you could have crushed it like one day and just as easily get completely crushed the next day. If all of a sudden you step up all of your action, I mean, it goes up exponentially, the kind of wagers that you're making. And, you're not thinking about, the fact that under normal circumstances, you would go to, say, the track and plunge your brains out and then leave and go to do something else. Whereas in Las Vegas, you go to the track, and if you got buried, Well, guess what? You'll go play some machines or some table games.
Exactly.
Because
Not
there's
better.
always the rest of the night. So it's pretty tough to nurse a bankroll there unless you have some kind of responsibility, some kind of parameters to the idea that, wow, I can't just go out there every day and get crushed like a grape. Although there are people that do, and that's why, I don't know. Do you think the homeless community there came about because of gambling? Because a lot of people would want you to believe that. But
I
I
don't
just
think so.
I think it's just a thing where people gravitate towards Las Vegas. I would think it might be a little easier, on the homeless to be there because there's availability of maybe guys are eating free food all day. I don't know. You think it would be easier to navigate because there was like a whole homeless village that wasn't there before.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is strange too. Although the homeless people really don't go out of their way to hassle people. Is that some understanding they have? Where you're watching that. There was a lady, literally. I mean, I have great empathy for the homeless. I really do. You want to go around and just put $20 in everybody's hand, but
Yes.
then at the same time with COVID going on, I mean, I'm not necessarily inclined to dive down to a bunch of tents that are set up on the side of the highway. But they had it seemed like a tolerance for it, and I was happy to see that. And it looked like there had been some improvements made to the conditions that these people were living under. But on my walk of life, I took a little detour just partially on the strip to get to where it was that I wanted. I was going to walk down Flamingo Road there. And, to get there, instead of taking, you don't want to take an elevator while you're on your walk, right? Because they have those things where you go on the overpass over the streets on the busy corners to try and alleviate the traffic there on the Las Vegas Strip. Yep. And a lady literally was wearing no clothes and had like a blanket around her. And, she's walking down the street very casually and nobody's paying any attention. But, she didn't go out of her way, to disturb anybody. And you're thinking, I don't know, what's your feeling about that? You see this and you're thinking, my God, I wish I could do something.
Yes, I feel bad. And then I keep walking because I can't save everyone, which is not really the right mindset, but sort of what
you're hoping maybe the city, the community, whatever, the state of Nevada is doing their best to try and have these people at least have, half a shot. But anyway, you could leave there feeling that way after getting buried financially. And so it was a very fortunate trip from that aspect. But Stafford came within an eyelash of being the biggest GOAT in the history of playoff football, and the narrative would have been completely different had that defensive back. I don't remember the guy's name.
Tart.
How do you drop that? I mean, it's in the breadbasket down the middle of the field in a situation where you have to be looking to just go ahead and intercept the ball and make the difference. Floated a pass into his own, and if he doesn't drop that pass, San Francisco wins the game. They're in the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah. It was the last
Stafford,
drive.
is looked at as a complete disaster, right?
Yes.
Traded all those draft picks for him and Jared Goff, and what do you got? You got the same result that you always have, another torturous beat.
Yep. It was literally Stafford being Stafford, in which he hadn't done the entire playoffs. And he I guess the uniform changed it because the luck went on his side. And then he went right the next play to Beckham. Big play. They went right down the field, and then they won the game on the gimme field goal.
That game was over, yeah. So Jersey Khan would have picked up 900 on the double Moneyline Martinez. That was a tough way to watch the game.
That's annoying. They were up by 10, and then the Bengals had roared back, and they had won as the underdog. Oh, my God.
Well, what a gutsy bet. I mean, he gets the Bengals in an impossible situation. They looked like they were completely spent after the first half, and you thought, wow, blowout city. I'm glad I'm, laying 7 in this ball game with the Chiefs. That didn't work out so well.
Oh,
that would have been my play. I would have played the Chiefs, and and it's funny, too, because I was doing a little piece about the ball game, and how do you discount San Francisco? And yet, how the hell are they doing it? They're doing that with mirrors, are they not? Yes. Jimmy Garoppolo, has nothing, and turned into Garoppolo at the end of the ball game there, unfortunately, where he throws one of the hideous picks of all time. And then on top of that, imagine if the ball that was picked off at the end of the game, if the defensive back goes into the end zone with that, changes everything again also. Because all of the people that cashed at 3 and a hook, I was only getting 3 in my one-on-one straight-up wagers with my buddy Francesco. Thanks, Francesco.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, even though the Niners lost the game, they still covered. by most people's estimation.
First question to Sean McVay should have been, "Hey, Sean, can you really be
Win, no
satisfied
cover.
with a win, no cover?"
That's,
all of you
I
backers
was
out
wrong.
there.
Like the dude was hammering the Chiefs, and I felt like it would be a good game if the Chiefs would cover. Didn't. And then I was like, I didn't want to touch the other game, but if I was going to, I would have played Rams. I thought the Rams would win and cover. So I was like really wrong. Like, that's funny that you still got to push.
You know, it's funny too, because Andy's on top of this, because you know that Kyle, Jersey Kyle Martinez, also known as Moneyline Martinez,
Yes.
thinks you're a bozo and a wimp and a loser if you hedge a bet. Or you put yourself into a lock situation. In other words, and he discussed this. I'm sitting at a table with him, and we're in the midst of this handicapping tournament. Although we're not playing in it, we're just punching horses there because it was a great place to, spend the time, and especially with the sports books, the way they operate. If you're a horse player, it's a disaster on days like the Sunday Conference Championship games because all the sports bettors are online, and they don't differentiate. They don't have a separate line for horse players. So you're there with like 1 minute to post at Laurel, and you're trying to get a bet down. It's going to be your first winning bet of the day. And there's 6 guys leaning into the window going, so that would be 107, and then parlay that. And they can't read the sheet. I mean, it's just absolutely infuriating and disgusting. And then the tellers are, some of them relatively new, even though very accommodating. And they're like, so what does that mean? You want Buffalo Lady or what? Yeah, so it's very frustrating. So we're sitting there, and he swears to me that he's going to hedge this bet.
Shut up.
He's going to make $900 in profit if San Francisco wins outright. He put up $100. Now, if you put $300 on the Rams, you're guaranteed of making $300 or $600.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So
at least win something at that point.
Yeah, and don't lose even if you only put 100 on the other team, at least you don't lose your bet.
Yeah, you don't want to lose at that point. Like, you have.
Does that make you less of a man? In his opinion, that makes you less of a man.
Yes, of course it does. He's Jersey.
It's financial castration. It's degenerate castration. You
Being
may as well just take the
responsible.
guy. I think in the long run, it's probably being smart. I mean, what's wrong with winning 800 instead of 900, but having no chance to lose that original stick?
Once you got the Bengals after what that game was to win,
a miracle.
Whatever,
you pulled off a miracle, yes.
And you had a 10-point lead. It was like, okay, let's, let's just, counter, let's just cover our ass. Like, yeah, at
why
least
not
put a
make
couple
money
hundred
to the bet? I mean, you got one of them home. The likelihood of both dogs winning outright, was obviously not very strong because they wouldn't be giving you 9-1 if they thought that was going to be a simple proposition. It wasn't like these games were 2 1-point games. I mean, one was 7, and you got the miracle there, and you got the big price with the Bengals, and then you turn right back around. Now you have a lock situation. You locked yourself into a winning situation. Why not go ahead and take advantage of that?
Well, and especially if you hedge, like Andy's talking about in the chat, if you hedge at the right time, you're now getting good price with the Rams. So either way, you're going to actually make good money. But the Rams, when they were down 10, must have been really good odds. So if you're hedging now you have really good odds with the Niners and really good odds with the Rams. You're good either way. Like his 100 actually, or 200 would have won him really good money no matter what. Like he was actually
really, yeah. Second half, he should have gone up, but he had already made up his
Vegas.
mind. Yeah. I think his exact words were, fuck it. I'm leaving it as it is.
Well,
I think he was just too lazy to go back to the windows there. And all of a sudden, the next game went off, and he was like, oh, well, you know what? I didn't hedge a dime. Okay, Jared. Love that man, but geez, certain situations, I think hedging is definitely.
Yeah.
Quitting while you're ahead is not the same as quitting. That's one of my favorite lines in any movie. I was whoever the heroin distributor was talking to Denzel Washington, an American Gangster. Quitting while you're ahead, people, is not the same as quitting.
No, it's being smart. It's being a rational business person.
Very few people quit while they're ahead, and when it comes to gambling, like as soon as they get ahead, they start sending in ridiculous proportions. Now you've been losing your whole life, so why all of a sudden is that whole pattern going to change just because you happen to hit something and get lucky one time?
It isn't.
It is. Exactly. You're going right back to being a loser, people. Believe me, I've experienced it many times. Speaking of losing, and, I've been in the so-called news business for a long, long time. And I don't know, there was a horse called Newsbox that went off, and I looked at it, and I was going to bet it. Speaking of, just sitting on your fanny while something good is about to transpire, I didn't. I sat it out. I forgot about it. Boom, wins, jogs at 7-1 at Oaklawn Park. But this is a funny business sometimes, and of late, I mean, it's been destroyed by people that are trying their best to go ahead and I don't know why I'm getting that music so loud, but nonetheless, Lubie.
It's like quiet. It's barely on.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of a sudden, I'm getting a little flashing on the screen here.
Yes, your screen's doing. Yes, your screen's doing weird things. Like I'm about to have a seizure.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. I was gonna say turn off and on your camera, but it's been off for a week, so I don't know why it's doing.
I'm going
to
try and reboot this thing, during the break here. But nonetheless, yeah, Lubie, I'm sorry if that's annoying people.
I'm fine. I feel bad for people watching, but it is what it is. We're here.
I'm watching this thing, and I see this Iona shirt. I was going to tell the story about. You're not aware of the occasion? I mean, Iona has now won 7 games in a row.
That's insane. Yeah, I didn't know.
They're 18-3 on the season. They had a top 10 win, at least one that I know of. I mean, I haven't been tracking this closely, but the word on the NCAA tournament, of course, is with Rick Pitino, don't sleep on Iona. Remember he brought all these guys in from like Latvia and parts unknown and places that nobody goes to recruit. It's not like he went out to California and picked up a couple of kids that are 7-footers. So he somehow assembled his team. That 18-3. Now they're not playing a high level of competition in their conference, but high enough, right? What's Iona been in the last 20 years? Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing special, anyway.
No, nothing.
So, yeah, I mean, the shirt is, like I said, in honor of Rick Pitino, and then at the same time, because all of my wardrobe is in a canvas bag right now, sitting on the bed. What wardrobe, Defo?
I was going to say, you have a wardrobe?
Not exactly on a but in the news business, I mean, it's become a thing where everybody wants to have the story first, right?
Yes. Breaking news. That's the whole thing.
I mean, if Brady comes back, and now you talk about hedging, ESPN is now hedging their bets.
Oh, they are?
Well, and this was not uncommon, right? Let's say, you had some legendary guy like a Don Shula, okay? And somebody gives you word that Shula's health is declining, which I guess people knew that he was in bad shape there for the last couple of months. I don't know if he was in bad shape, but obviously he was at a point of, as we say in this life, no return.
Yeah.
So now all of the news people, they've assembled all of their Shula tributes and testimonials, which is great. I mean, very deserved by a guy that lived a great life like Don Shula and did so many things, accomplished things that nobody else may ever do, right? As the, what is he, the winningest coach all time in NFL history? Yeah.
Yes.
Belichick's never going to get there, is he?
I don't know. Belichick is a lunatic. He may just keep coaching until he does.
Yeah, I guess it's possible, but nonetheless, so I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon to go ahead and have these tributes ready, and then maybe you get a bogus call from somebody that you've counted on in the past for inside information, and he says, "Go ahead and run it, Stu. No. The old man's dead." How do you know? I know, man. Quincy called me, told me the guy's dead as a doornail. All right, so now they put out all of this stuff about, like, in this case, it would be Don Shula dying, and it turns out, the guys at the track at Gulfstream Park presenting a trophy to Paco Lopez in a winner's circle after the 4th race, the Don Shula Stakes. Like, wait a minute, he said on the news he was dead. And this is kind of what happened with this Tom Brady story right now, although I don't know. I mean, do you believe that Brady is actually going to come back and play another year, or is he just toying with everybody?
I think he's pissed that because we're in this day and age of players releasing their own information, and Brady's been big on this TB12 shit, so he's been controlling his own narrative for a while now, and La Canfora got the scoop, and everyone's ran with it, and I think Brady's pissed. I think Brady's like, this is bullshit. I wanted to release this information, so now he's like, okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm not retiring until it quiets down. Because that was my thing. Every single news outlet ran with it. And they usually don't. Like, they were like doing the montages in Brady. Like, it was like the whole thing. Every single outlet, news, sports, Twitter, everyone went all in on Brady retiring. So I'm like, I guess he's retiring. Like,
I mean, the old days, you might have held back a little bit. And not made a premature evaluation, which, and the way that ESPN likes to beat its chest on stories, even when they don't break these stories or when it's relatively common knowledge. Like they just had a press conference and it'll make sure to point out in their crawl there that Schefter reported this or Darlington. Now they combine the two guys, right? They're sort of getting on equal footing there, like Mel Kiper and McVeigh, right? McShay, yeah. McVeigh is the guy that you should have asked the question. Come on, Sean. Win, no cover? What the hell? You're proud of that? A disgrace. But I mean, they couldn't wait to just pound it into your head that these two guys figured out that Brady was retiring before anybody else. Now you're saying it wasn't even their guys that reported it first, correct?
I saw La Canfora before anyone, and then people kept slamming him. No, that's not true. And then out of nowhere, every network ran with it. So I'm like, I guess it's true.
And, at this point, aren't you rooting for Brady to come back just for spite?
I actually said that because my sister-in-law, we were at breakfast, brunch for Shirley's before birthday, and my sister-in-law like, no, that's not true. That's not what's happening. He's not retiring. It's just a PR stunt, whatever. And I'm like, no, he's retiring. I'm like, you don't do all the. Every network doesn't run with it unless he's retiring. And then an hour later, I was like, what would be funny is if at this point it went the other way. Even I was like, you know what? That would be great if he just plays.
I'm rooting for him to come back now. I don't know why. Some cynical part of me wants to see these guys just buried in embarrassment.
I know.
All because ESPN is, never mind. The two reporters might have gotten it wrong. It's possible. All right, but they're so adamant about the idea that we were the ones that got this thing.
Yep.
And it's such ugliness if it turns out not to be true. In reverse, I remember when I was a newspaper guy. I've told you this story before, and I worked with a guy I won't forget. He was an old curmudgeon, old school newspaper guy named Ron Witt. He was of modest talents as a writer, but a great guy. And, he was working, let's face it, we weren't exactly in the major leagues. This wasn't the New York Times or the Boston Globe we were working at. We were at the Ontario Daily Report. A schminky little piece of schmutz they used to throw in your driveway at 3:00 in the afternoon so you could get the results of the high school games and then, maybe read about, the flower and garden show that's taking place at the convention center by the airport. That was it. It was a simple, hometown little newspaper there, although we covered the LA sports scene. So, we naturally, we're big and we would go and do live coverage of Dodger games in USC, UCLA. It was kind of a great foundation for, if you weren't going to be in the major leagues right out of the chute, you at least got to feel like you were in the major leagues in terms of the things that you were covering, and you were around all of the top guys. And so it was a great learning experience, even though we were lucky if 8 people had the ability to read, much less were reading your articles. No, they weren't, particularly dumb there in Ontario, California. But let's face it, they were breathing in all that smog. Kaiser Steel was killing people. I mean, it was crazy. So my thing was, and this was really old school stuff, where you used to have to take the copy back to a print shop in the back, and the people there, their whole goal and mission when you were on a nighttime deadline was to put the paper to bed. They wanted to get out of there, right? Go home, start the next, and they're waiting for one guy to come in with a story, and they're all kind of just pacing around. Everything else is done. Everything's ready to go to the press, but you're waiting for the last out of the Dodger game so you can report the final score and have whatever story you're about to file there with 2 minutes to go. And a lot of times, and this happened too. I mean, many times where you had the story completely written and a guy hits a 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth, and you're like, what? They lost?
Yep.
On a night where, and then you wanted to make everything else that you had in the body of the story fit, so you would just change the lead. On a night where it looked like a certainty that the Dodgers were going to win, a home run changed everything around. But before that, the game was all going their way.
And then you just leave the rest of it.
And you have all the rest of the copy there because you didn't really have time to change anything. And so I used to like to push this, because I wanted to be seen in a favorable light, and I wanted to get out of there also. So I would sometimes, put the paper to bed before the last second, where everything was in, all of the stories were in, maybe 10:30 or whatever. On the West Coast, you had an 11 o'clock, deadline to go to press. And so, if it was 10:30, I'd say, here, go ahead and run it. We're going with this. And Ron Witt used to always tell me, and he talked he was kind of like a fatherly figure to me. He would go, Jeffrey, what if the Dodger plane crashes between now and 11 o'clock? I was like, What are you fucking kidding me? You think the Dodger plane is going to crash in the next half hour?
Window.
I mean, they're going to take off and go right down.
Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're in Cincinnati. They're just going to take off and whoosh, right down into the ground. But was he wrong? I mean, if you miss something like that, can you imagine the next day if the rival newspapers, and there were a zillion newspapers out there, everybody else had the story but you? I mean, that would be
you'd be the joke. You'd be the story. Is what the fuck did they do?
How'd you miss that one, Deforrest? Well, you know what? We were over at the Chinese restaurant checking out. Go have, a couple of those Asian beers, right? One of those, what is it, Yangtze? Is that the name of the beer they serve?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
Yangtze? Yeah.
Something like that.
It's not bad, right? It's probably a Budweiser in a fancy bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Bunch of Chinese lettering that they can whack you for an extra $2 for. Now, we'll see if we can get rid of this glitch here. We have a bunch of things to do on the program today. But, I mean, what kind of omelet are these guys going to have on their face at ESPN if Tom Brady comes back and plays a single snap next year?
It's going to be great. Oh, never mind.
You know that smarmy Jim Gray would be involved somehow as a shameless shill for Tom Brady on that radio show.
Stupid-ass podcast.
Well, Tom.
So
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they have a radio show too, right? They
do the radio thing
before the most innocuous interview during the middle of the radio broadcast of Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Where Jim Gray, not exactly putting the hard questions to Tom Brady on that show. Come on, Jim. What happened to?
Exactly.
Hey, you want to admit it right here? You slime ball. You bet on baseball. Right here, you got an audience of zillions. Right now, it's the All-Star game. They finally let you back into a ballpark. You couldn't buy a hot dog at Shea before yesterday. What a world, huh? I mean, that's all I could say. It's great to be a part of it. All right, we're going to see if we can fix our technical difficulty, whatever that is. I don't know what would cause that. Call Brad.
It's your camera, but I don't. I mean, the idea would be to turn off your camera and turn it back on. I hope that works.
Yeah. All right, I'll give that a shot. All right, Mike Lubitz, good job. How'd it go? I mean, what?
No one complained. I've learned in this business, if no one complains, then you did a good job. No one.
Or
you don't usually say
reverse logic on that is that nobody's watching either.
That could be true, but no one complained, so I guess it was okay. We're still here, so that's a positive.
All right, that's good. No, it's great to be here on Ion Channel. It really is. I mean, big things happening, and we couldn't be any happier than to be a part of it. This new momentum that we're gathering here, as unfortunately, I don't know. My buddy Mike, who was working with me on a little project on this, says, "Oh well, that's it. Florida's shut down, but it doesn't change anything. If you see." The proliferation of gambling interests and the number of different entities that I couldn't believe it. Nevada must have like a zillion sports apps, as you might imagine.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to get into it. I mean, like
you
they're
can
just
bet
stupid.
on your 7-Eleven app. You can go in there and get a Slurpee and get the Giants to win the Super Bowl next year at 300-1. It's great now that they have their new coach. So weren't we supposed to get this guy with the Dolphins?
Yes.
Brian Daboll.
That was the guy that was the Dolphins front runner, and then all of a sudden the Jim Harbaugh murmurs got louder. So Daboll went to New York, and the Dolphins are still sitting there shuffling their fingers.
And Harbaugh, what is the point of interviewing Jim Harbaugh for the Minnesota Vikings job? I mean, either give it to him or not. You don't know what Jim Harbaugh's all about?
If you notice, I don't think he's doing these interviews that everyone else is doing, like a second interview, then whatever. Like I think he'll do one interview, and either you'll give him the job or you won't. I mean, I guess they want to
exactly. I mean, how much do you need to talk to the guy, right? That whole second interview process is crazy. Is that just to accommodate and pacify the people that the Rooney Rule is being adhered to, and that the NFL is ready to diversify? Although it seemed like a whiter shade of pale, did it not? The guys that have been hired so far. What do you have? 4 head coaches hired, and you never heard of half of them. Well, that would only be 2. But I mean, who are these guys? Eberflux or whatever that guy's name is?
Eberflus.
Daboll, I guess we knew because you saw a lot of shots of him on the sideline there.
Yes.
And so, and Buffalo obviously was very prominent, and, he was, believed to be responsible for the success of Josh Allen, who's off to a very, very, prominent start to his NFL career. So, I mean, all of that's in play. You forget that this guy was a Dolphins offensive coordinator when the Dolphins had no offense, correct?
I didn't realize it. Like, I was looking at his track record just last week, and I'm like, The Dolphins? I'm like, I don't remember him being a Dolphins offense coordinator, like 2011. Like, I didn't remember that at all.
That would have escaped me also, except that I've seen it now a number of times. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
Shows you how non-distinct the Dolphins offensive coordinator position is. We got a job opening. So where are we at? I mean, are there any coaches left? You've already had a few hired, all either offensive or defensive coordinators. Jim Harbaugh supposedly is going to come into the fold. Josh McDaniels finally decided to leave Bill Belichick. So doesn't that lead you to believe that Belichick said, listen, kid, you ain't ever getting this job?
Yeah, exactly. And Belichick's like, yeah, I'm not leaving anytime soon.
It's my Wanda Fred Hooper story all over again, where an old geezer marries a very young woman, a very attractive young woman. You're thinking the only reason she's with the guy is because he's loaded and he's about to check out.
Yep.
And he goes on and lives for another 35 years. Well, she ages rapidly, thinking, wow, if this guy doesn't check out soon, I'm going to be an old lady by the time I have his money.
Exactly.
No, I think she really loved him. I don't mean to single out the lovely Wanda Hooper, who was always very nice to me anytime I came across her, because Fred was still prominent in horse racing when I was covering this 50 years ago. Yeah. All right. Great contest, by the way. The National Handicapping Championship. If you're a horse player of any type, I would recommend. There was a Cinderella story, a Horatio Alger story written in this thing, Lubie.
Okay.
As a guy who is a real estate appraiser, I believe, from like Tonawanda, like somewhere outside of Buffalo, New York. Okay. So it's not like this guy's necessarily living like the Pagulas, right? He's got a regular job and he's living in a schmenky town like Rochester or whatever. I don't know. It said Western New York. Not a giant bettor or anything. Just likes the ponies. He got into one of these online tournaments, entered one for like $300. Got a seat, won the tournament. So he got whatever prize money was available there, much like Evan, won at Hialeah Park. And got himself a seat into this year's competition, which you have to win your way in now. You can't buy your way in. It used to be a $10,000 buy-in.
Oh, interesting.
But now they have so many tournaments going on, and people are so interested in the format that, they make enough money to have a giant prize fund for the national championship, which is what we were attending in Las Vegas. So anyway, this guy kind of comes from nowhere, and he ends up walking away with $750,000. Which was the top prize in the tournament.
Oh, my God.
That's a life-changing score, no?
Yes, that is a life-changing score, yes.
Do you play the bonus? No, you don't play table games.
No.
They got that little red circle on the Fugazi card games. And no new table game is being introduced in a Vegas casino that is favorable to the players. Right? Do you think that was a fair statement?
Yes, that's a very
People
fair
will tell you, oh, man, this Mississippi stud or whatever that is. Have you seen that? When you're walking by, well, you're not in casinos very often.
But
anyway, a lot of people like this game, whatever. It's a table game, a variation of what you see, in the World Series of Poker. And Mississippi, Texas Hold'em or something. I don't know. It's like 2 states are involved. So, people are telling you, oh, yeah, I'm killing it on that. That's the easiest game to hit, but it's a relatively new game. I mean, it's come along in the last decade or so. And they're never making new games that are favorable to the players. Never.
No way.
The juice and the vig on these games is humongous by comparison to, your standard blackjack, craps, and roulette, which is already prohibitive enough playing into those odds. So, house always wins. That's the way it turns out.
Yes, 100%.
Although they must have, had somebody that didn't know how to calibrate these video poker machines I was playing. Because I have never had so many scores in a short period of time.
Oh, okay.
This type of machine.
Especially in Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas, you don't win.
And there was another bank of machines that was just absolutely brick city. I mean, you couldn't win a dime. If you put $100 in there, it was out the door. If you put another 100 in there, out the door without even raising a gallop, right? It was like the old days where you used to once in a while get a couple of cherries to fall into line on a slot machine. Slot machines have gotten insane, have they not? Insane. I mean,
I've never won on a slot machine.
It's not even that. I mean, just the way that they're, comprised. It used to be the thing where 3 lemons would come down. Oh, good, 20 nickels.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, too, is I don't know how, like, you'll win and go, did I win? It's like,
I'm watching Jersey, who, is the best road trip gambler in the world. And, I mean, you talk about serendipitous luck. when it comes to things. He's playing machines that we have no idea what the payoff is. It doesn't tell you. And the thing's just rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling until it comes up and rings up like $1,600.
Like, okay.
In a penny machine. Which, by the way, the penny machines are like $8 a spin.
Exactly.
And you got clowns and lions and, characters out of the Holy Grail. Buffalo stampeding, and noise all over the place. All of a sudden, it's like you're in some movie theater there with Dolby sound effects and all.
You're like IMAX.
But you don't even know what you're looking for, right? Look at that. That looks good. Yeah. 7 swords. Huh?
Yeah, you would think you won.
It comes back 35 cents. Yeah, you're rolling $8 a spin. All right, we're going to come back. Harvey Fialkov is going to join us. We get a chance to talk about that Nadal. Wow, I happened to watch that.
It was a thriller. My dad was like, "You're an idiot." It was a classic. I'm like, I don't know.
Because I'm still on East Coast time. I'm like crashing at like 9 o'clock in Vegas, even though that would have been heartbreaking in the distant past, right? Where you stayed out all night.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't care anymore, right? So, and I'd wake up like about 12:30. After sleeping for a couple of hours, and sure enough, there it is, both the women's final, which was relatively unspectacular, although that American girl, Danielle Collins, was in there with a real shot, but it's hard to get by the champions.
Yeah, Barney's solid.
Barney just put it together, and that was that. So she wins for Australia, and that was a great story. And then Rafa's down the 2 sets. My God, when he lost that second set tiebreaker, and he sort of was in command of the second set, even though the announcers, McEnroe and Chris Fowler, and I guess Patrick McEnroe was on there too, along with John. And they were saying that, he was getting dominated in the second set, but luckily he was in a position to win it. So now he's down 0-2. He leaves the court, comes back, a schwitzing mess, and looks like, he's finished, right? He's about to get broken by Medvedev, who's been almost impenetrable when it comes to his serve. And he's down love 40, and they were writing him off. They did the same thing that maybe Darlington and Schefter have done with Brady. They said, well, that's it. It's been a great career for Rafa. I don't know if they were burying this guy. They were writing an epitaph, an obituary. And he comes back and wins? Are you kidding me? In 5.5 hours, like late 30s? So we'll talk with Harvey about that. I'm sure he's very enthusiastic about that.
Yep.
He claims, that tennis is tougher than boxing as an individual sport. I'm not sure that I would agree with that.
No, as someone who played tennis my whole life and almost couldn't survive 3 minutes with a female who had just started training, I'm telling you right now, boxing, there's nothing like boxing.
One round of boxing. Have you tried just boxing 3 minutes?
I tried. I almost died. I'm like, are we still boxing? I'm like, what is going on?
And you're thinking, how the hell did these guys, especially, in what was a glorious era of boxing going back to the late 70s, early 80s, when you had all of these great champions, and they would get involved and they would fight each other, and they had eventually reduced the fights to 12 rounds after the Boom Boom Mancini thing. But going 15?
Like, what the fuck? Like, that's insane.
In tennis, you're not getting hit in the face.
No.
That's a big difference.
Tennis is a lot of running, but look, you still do it. You're in your early 70s. You can still go.
I'm not playing exactly
go
at
try
that
and
level.
box. No, but go and box.
Yeah.
No.
There's no comparison between my game, or would there be if I got in a ring with somebody that could still fight? All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Don't forget Hialeah Park. Wow, wonderful time. Did you get any reports on the boxing?
I didn't, and we talked to Louie, and he was really great Friday, and I was really excited, and I wasn't able to get out there, but I was looking forward to hearing about it. The weather was spectacular, so I presume it was a great show.
Oh, yeah. They always stage great events at Hialeah Park, and there'll be more to come. That's just the beginning. Only the beginning of what I want to feel forever. Frank Fiore, congratulations, Frank. He brought boxing back there, and he was the main impetus there. And the people, they're like family. They have their things where every now and then they're thinking, well, maybe this isn't the direction we want to go in. But they always wanted to bring it back, and they did. And just absolutely fantastic. So proud of the people there at Hialeah Park for staging another great event, I would imagine. I'm wondering if we have anybody in the audience that was able to attend that thing, and we could get a report there in the chat line. That would be fantastic. Always great stuff going on. Open till 3 in the morning. The casino is rocking, right? You won't have to search forever in the entire city of Las Vegas to find one bank of reasonably paying video poker games. I mean, the machines there are paying all the time. They have a lot of Royal Reels there. That's a very popular game, Royal Reels, in the Hialeah Park Casino. And we're seeing the jackpot results there. Steve Calabro paying out enormous amounts of money on a regular basis at Hialeah Park in the casino. Does a great job of managing that place. Food and drink all over the place, always at very reasonable prices. I mean, we're not talking... You get whacked pretty good on the food in Las Vegas. I will say that, Lubie.
Oh, my God. No.
I had a salad and a glass of wine for lunch yesterday.
Like $30.
Salad with no meat on it, nothing, right? It wasn't like, well, how would you like that? Blackened or grilled? None of that, right? It wasn't like they put a poached salmon on this thing. Just lettuce and croutons and a little bit of Parmesan cheese there, a Caesar salad, and one glass of wine. And my check was $43.
Oh, wow. Not even 30.
It was $35.
I was going to say 30. That's at least 30. My favorite is getting breakfast, and it's like 2 eggs, toast, and a cup of coffee, and it's $28. What?
Because money doesn't matter there, right? You pay your tab in chips, if you have any left.
I was going to say, if you have chips.
It's always good to get a few black chips sent your way there. Had a couple of good hands of Let It Ride, one of my favorite, nonsensical games to play where the house has a huge advantage. Caribbean Stud Poker, I think, was the most frustrating. Did you ever play Caribbean Stud Poker, Lubie?
No, I've heard
you don't see it featured many places. Not even in the Caribbean.
I was going to say, do they even have it there?
It's impossible to crack. All right, well, you won't have a tough time finding something to do at Hialeah Park. That's for sure. The poker room is also great. They do a tremendous job. They're very big out there in Las Vegas now, the poker rooms at the various hotels, always packed and jammed. Poker players, whole different breed, whole different crowd coming in there from years ago when it was a bunch of old geezers at Caesars, and everybody looked like Doyle Brunson. But no, it's a happening poker room at Hialeah Park. And, of course, the Champions simulcasting room. Brilliant. Pegasus Stakes over the weekend took place at Gulfstream Park. And, of course, that was a great place to punch away in the Champions simulcasting room. Always a lot of activity in there and great food and drink as well. Check out all the different things that are happening. You can find a calendar of events, special events that are coming up at HialeahPark.com. And make sure you make your plans to visit beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Harvey's going to join us. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. So we'll get his views of what happened over the weekend. Again, very entertaining conference championship games.
The games are great. The last 6 games, we've been spoiled. They've all been great.
I don't want, and this is rare for me because I'm into so many different sports and I like to diversify, and I'm more than happy to let kind of basketball take over my viewing interests and my emotional and betting interests as well. That's all fine. Although I did watch last night's Heat Boston Celtics game.
The wrong game.
I don't care that the Heat got buried. It's just the way the game is being contested. Is this basketball? Literally, were 8 straight possessions that had a 3-point shot taken. 8 straight by both teams.
It's bastardizing it. We've talked about this for years now.
I mean, nothing's happening on the offensive end. There's no real ball. There's ball movement, but it's all around the perimeter. Once in a while, they throw it inside, and that guy immediately zips it out to the 3-point stripe for a guy to take a 30-footer from straight away.
Yes.
And even if it's a brick, they don't even care, right? Like normally, if you chucked up a 30-footer back in the days in the park, you would be hanging your head for the next half hour. If you threw up an air ball, no, next possession down, same guy. Whoop, there's another one. Oh, brick. And yet they had the Celtics at least had 100 points in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And I never saw them make a shot. I mean, it was just shot after shot. Desperate heaves from 30.
I don't get it.
That's basketball? It's going to be tough. So, this is one of the first times, I think, in my 70 years on the planet and probably 65 cognizant years of being a sports fan that I'm going to be really sad to see the football season end.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great. These playoffs have been amazing.
All right, we're going to come back with more, I promise you. Brett Tessler later on, and Harvey Fialkov, longtime sports writer here in South Florida, where we originate from, here on Ion Channel, Jack Namer's fine organization. Good to be back with the guys here. We'll try and fix this little glitch here. I don't know what's going on with this camera. Maybe it's just ice cold. Do you think it froze?
I don't know.
I heard it was very cold here in Florida.
It was very cold.
Were gone.
It was cold for Florida. Yes, it was.
Yeah. All right, we're coming back in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:54.
Anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Hey, it's Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet here for my friends over at Shenanigans Sports Pub. It's a great place to go to take in a game, a good meal, and a couple of drinks. My friend Patrick, he's been doing it a long time, and he's got 2 locations. West side is right across from TY Park in Hollywood. And then the east side location is at 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. Shenanigans is the place for wings, burgers, barbecue, fresh fish, anything you want, drink specials, late night dining, outdoor dining. It is the place to go, family friendly. Go to Shenanigans and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
First, I got in about 2 a.m. last night. Do I look like Lubie? Good morning, by the way.
You look
do I
good.
look like I need a cut, man?
You look good. I'm proud of you. You're like ready. You're on time. All the guys there didn't have to stress out waiting for you. Look at you. A new day.
I'm a professional. There's no question about it. And I don't like to lose a job on the first day of the job.
That'd be good.
Which is ugly. Because we already lost one job, and we got fired by Fox. And in fact, you and I, Lubie, are the only starters that were ever beaten out for a job by Brady Quinn. If you can kind of wrap your arms around that concept.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
I think I took care of that glitch.
I think it's better.
I don't want to jinx it right now, man. I was driving me crazy. I'm seeing like a flashing light here the entire time. And I don't need this. Coming off of 3 hours of sleep. Coming back to be in front of you fine folks here today on Ion Channel. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz with you on Ion Channel. Great to be with you, and with you every morning, essentially Eastern time.
Yes.
Which I haven't quite gravitated towards. Definitely tougher coming back.
Yes.
Going out to Vegas, you feel like literally like a born again Christian all of a sudden, right? Even as a Jew, Because you get out there and it's 3 hours earlier. It's like, wow, man! I took
It's
off
great.
at 7. I'm here at 10. I just flew 5 hours. I picked up 2 hours. Thank you, God.
Yep.
Coming back, however, especially
it sucks.
I don't know if there's any great way to come back from Las Vegas. Right, the red eye. I mean, that really discombobulates you the very next day. And I used to roll right into work if I could off the red eye and go in and try to do like some morning drive radio.
Yep.
Giant mistake. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be as big a mistake as ESPN made if Brady comes back. Man, I want him to play it down.
I want to play so bad. And I hate Brady, and I was so happy to hear he's retiring. But the fact that they went all in and he was like, I didn't say I'm retiring. I was like, ooh.
It's funny, and it's not uncommon anymore to just spew negativity and hatred and, disparaging remarks about the direction that ESPN has gone. And I'll never forget, I was driving to Florida here from California, and I had just driven like 24 hours. And we didn't get ESPN in Los Angeles where I was living at the time, and it kind of just cranked up and was still essentially women's field hockey, Tom Mees on SportsCenter, and Bobby Ches fights from the Totowa skating rink in Totowa, New Jersey, right? And Ches fought every week. It was amazing. But I couldn't wait to get this because, I mean, it just fascinated me, the whole concept. I mean, this has to be circa 1981 of 24-hour sports channels. Wow. I mean, and this was the first. And they didn't have the rights to all of these major sports and all of the glitz and glamour that they now enjoy, including having Monday Night Football for their, like the last 15 years or so? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, I've been through a lot of turmoil in their announcing booth. And Tony Romo is getting blasted.
No, he sucks. Everyone's finally caught up to the way you felt for the last 2 years.
Yeah, he wasn't saying anything.
You were okay the first year, but everyone kept going and liking him the next year. And you were like, no, this doesn't work. He's out of hand. And I was trying to watch that game. And I thank God that I had it down because he's annoying. He just gets in the way of the entire broadcast.
He's rambling, yeah. Nance has to be ready to just absolutely slap this guy, no?
He sounds frustrated.
If he wasn't hearing footsteps from Iron Eagle.
Yeah, because Davis is perfect. Charles Davis jumps in, jumps out. They've worked together for a week, and it's seamless. And Romo and Nance have been together for a few years now, and it's Romo, get the hell out of there. What are you doing?
It's out of control. See, I mean, this just is testament to the greatness. And I've mentioned this guy. I know you didn't get a chance to see him. Have no idea who I'm talking about. But the greatest ever color analyst. I mean, with apologies to the recently deceased John Madden, was Al DeRogatis. And a lot of you people that watched football, I guess this would have been circa 60s. Kurt Gowdy and Al DeRogatis were right up there with any announcing pairing in the history of the game, in my opinion. I mean, they were great. Gowdy had this folksy kind of appeal and, made it seem like, he was welcoming you into his living room to watch the game, with him. And that was great. And he called a good ball game. I mean, it wasn't like he was John Sterling has been with the Yankees for the last several years. At least I don't get a chance to hear him, but you'll hear the clips, right, where he's going, there's a high fly ball. It is far. It is deep. And, wow, look at that. It's caught by the shortstop in short center field. And that's one away. I tell you what, that ball looked like it was going for a ride. Right, the guy's 85 years old. He's still doing it.
I mean, he shouldn't, yeah.
When the vision goes, is it time to stop doing play-by-play? Hey, Stevie Wonder. I said right field.
I feel like it makes it a little hard to do the job.
You got guys running and scoring. There's nobody on base. I mean, losing it in this business is not a pleasant experience. As you might consider that I'm experiencing it myself at this point. This does look a lot better, though, does it not? Lubie, it seems to be holding solid. I had to just reboot the computer here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you just need to redo the thing. It's been a while. It probably was frozen.
Yeah, if I had just yacked for an hour straight at the top of the show, when really it was just such a fascinating weekend all the way through. And I don't know that yesterday was enough time to discuss half of the stuff.
No, I really got into
ended up taking place. So, Super Bowl set, and this always was a troubling thing for sportscasters, people in this business, and maybe people in general, right? Because the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, by the time you get to the second week, you're pretty much burnt out all of the stories, have you not?
Honestly.
I mean, you're assigning guys to go and cover the backup holder on place kicks. Yeah, go do 2 pages. We want a 2-page feature on this guy. Hey, Ernie, we're going to do the backup holder again. All right. Well, we did it last year, and it got a lot of positive feedback for the newspaper, which, these guys know they're on their deathbed, right? I mean, how long are newspapers going to be in business? I couldn't even find one in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's funny.
I once aspired to work for the Las Vegas Review-Journal because the parent company, which is a name that escapes me, but nonetheless, the parent company of the paper I was working at, the Ontario Daily Report, yesterday's news tomorrow, still my favorite motto for any news entity. Yesterday's news tomorrow is what we featured. But the big paper in the chain was the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Now, wouldn't it be great? This would be a good job for Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, to be the food critic in Las Vegas. I think that would be sensational, man.
Yeah, the food's great there. It's expensive.
Food's great.
Food's great.
Everywhere you go. I sent a bottle of wine back for the first time ever in my life. I sent back a bottle of wine in a restaurant. Yeah. I mean, it was turning. If you're a Chardonnay drinker, which a lot of people would say that, that makes me, a little bit of a wimp. But nonetheless, I mean, that's what I'm satisfied with. Right?
Joy.
Yeah. Metrosexual, I guess you would be, right?
No, it means nothing.
Red wine has a negative impact on my internal organs.
I like red wine, but the problem is Shirley's the younger one, says it makes her tired. So that's why we don't drink it a lot, because if we're out and about, she would rather be awake. So she does like white wine more. I don't know if it's Chardonnay, but she likes white wine a lot because it doesn't bring her down like red wine does.
It doesn't matter how cheap or expensive a bottle you're drinking. If a white wine starts to get fizzy, right? Yeah, like you can taste it. All of a sudden, it's like you dropped an Alka-Seltzer in there. And tastes kind of, bland by its normal, standard, that you would have to say that this is not a good bottle of wine, unfortunately, right? So if you're paying like $85 a whack for what would normally be a $35 bottle of wine at a place, this was a place called Del Fresco's, which is not on the Strip. But there is one here in Fort Lauderdale, and I didn't realize this was a chain because it seemed like a very distinctive kind of steakhouse. And
it's a chain in the sense that they have like more than one, but it's not like they have like 15. Like they have a couple, and it's like a big deal. It's like one of the better steakhouses.
The word was the one in Fort Lauderdale, and I don't know this. I'll have to run this by Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo later on the radio show, The Lunchbox, which you can get on the Odyssey app, by the way, if you want to catch Mike Mayo in full splendor here, talking about mostly South Florida restaurants. But he does, have very, very keen intuition into what it's like on the food scene in other cities. Vegas might be among the best. You have a zillion choices. You can't hit all of the places that you want to, even on a 4-day trip.
No.
And then you end up eating like at White Castle because you're busted out and drunk.
100%.
Well, it ain't cheap, as we said. But being a food critic there would be great. And I was thinking maybe I resurrect my journalistic instincts and become a food critic, But Mayo quickly pointed out, there's a likelihood that the newspaper no longer can afford to have a food critic.
Yep.
And B, there's a likelihood that the newspaper will no longer exist.
God, that's so sad.
So probably a poor career decision. I think making these gambling videos, that would be the way to go, would it not, Mike Lubitz?
Definitely a good idea. I mean, Florida did sucks, but gambling's
people don't care. Yeah. And the Floridians, believe me, these guys are sending it in. That plane was packed, coming and going. I guess, are all flights to Las Vegas jammed from whatever city you're going to or from? Like every flight from Chicago, is that packed? Vegas is the destination.
Yeah, always. If it's a flight to Vegas, it's always packed. I've never, it's rare to get a Vegas flight that's like empty, or you get you get your own row. Vegas.
And remember the movie As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
And the whole thing comes to a head when he walks out into the waiting room after seeing his shrink in another meaningless session, and very contentious. And he sees all these people that look like they're on a Dilaudid drip, sitting there waiting to go ahead and try and get some kind of mental therapy. And he looks around the room and he sees all of these schleps in there, and he goes, so what if this is as good as it gets? Like you're never going to be any happier than you are right now. So don't even bother coming in there and kvetching about it. And that's kind of how the flight back is, the attitude on the flight back from Las Vegas, where you could walk up and down the aisle and go, hey, people, what if this is as good as it gets?
Yeah, it's depressing. The flight back from Vegas is as depressing a flight. It's like you're just so done.
Yeah. Everybody's toast, yeah. And, immediately it's fueled the anxiety and, the discouragement by the fact that the plane is late.
Yep.
And, it doesn't help people. It's not going to leave any sooner if you line up in front of the gate there, before the plane even hits, like, the gate. But with the flight that you're going to be on, they still got to clean the thing up. And everybody just lines up at the front there. Okay, we going? Let's go. I thought I heard Area B. Wouldn't you think it'd be advisable to let the people that are in the back of the plane on first? No?
The way they do it is weird. Because we've had the...
Now you're going to step over everybody. You elbow some guy in the face. You hit him with your bag. You're schlepping like 100 bags trying to avoid having to pay the check-in fee.
Yeah.
How about the size of it? This wasn't Spirit Airlines, but one of the things that cracks me up is the size of the little bin that you're supposed to measure whether or not your bag is too big.
No bag fits in
it.
There's no bag.
You can't fit your wallet in that thing.
Yeah, there's no bag. It's like, okay, so you don't want us to have a carry-on.
Who are you kidding, Spirit?
Come on.
That's crazy. All right, going to talk to Harvey Fialkov. Don't forget about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Plans are being made. I mean, we're right around the corner. I can't believe this is February 1st already.
Wow. I know. That's crazy.
I don't know how well I did on any of those resolutions I made. I actually made a couple this year.
You've lost weight. So I think that was in there somewhere.
On. Yeah. No, that was a while back, though. It's starting to come back on. Yeah, no, it's starting to come back on. Got to be careful. Although I didn't feel like I ate a lot, but when you get to this age, your metabolism is beyond 0.0. It's like sub-zero. We're in sub-zero freezing temperatures here at Lambeau today. Nuts. Yeah, I mean, January blew by here.
Blew by.
Time. Oh, my God.
Blew by.
All right, we have to get it together, and we're going to do that. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, we're going to get it together for the trip down there. That's going to be fascinating after the football season, so probably somewhere down the road, maybe 3 weeks into February, we catch the Jimmer there on a nice vacation. Maybe you'll invite Belichick.
There you go. They are actually dear friends from what we hear.
Fast friends, and, Jimmy would tell you that Belichick is a riot.
Yes.
Which is hard to see from his sporting persona, where he tries to be the biggest drip that you've ever seen in your life. I mean,
it's on purpose. He purposely wants to be a jerk off.
But compared to his normal persona, when he's not around people, especially media people, who might detect that he actually has, a good nature to him, it's like comparing, say, Pauly Shore's movie career with Sir Laurence Olivier's acting. Quite a disparity, my friends. 3 and a hook. It's gone to 4 already, Lubie, this line on the Super Bowl. What do you think? Are they sending it in on the Rams now? Do the Rams look to be superior? I mean, if a guy like Joe Burrow could get sacked 9 times by the Buffalo Bills, what happens when they turn the Rams' defensive front loose on this guy? What do you think? Could be devastating.
It could be interesting, yes. Their offensive line is not good. So it could finally catch up with them in this game.
Aaron Donald sets the sack record. Would it be worth taking a flyer on Aaron Donald to be the MVP of the Super Bowl? Probably get a pretty good price on a defensive player because it's always the quarterback, even though Matthew Stafford should have been the GOAT in that ballgame. His career over, finished, pronounced dead on arrival for next season. But nonetheless, I mean, saved by the bad hands of a defensive back. How do you miss that? Lubie, you would have caught that ball. You would have had that pick.
Oh, yeah.
Been over.
I was really good at catching. That was ridiculous. The guy the fact that, like, it was a horrible throw. He threw it right to Tart. Like, it was, like, weird.
Ugliness, yeah.
It was weird.
Moneyline Martinez was, dancing in the aisle there at Gordon Ramsay Steak. All right, coming back with more in a moment here. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Don't forget, mile marker 104, Key Largo. If you're heading for the Keys, or even if you just want to plan a special trip, what a great place that would be. It's going to be jam-packed, I would imagine, for the Super Bowl and the remodeled sports bar. Dominic Conchemi, you know John, man, a man of great integrity, class, and dignity. And his brother Dominic, wow. I mean, the job that he does there, and Larry Calvano, the owner, fantastic people. They really are tremendous, and so glad to be working with them. Because spreading the word about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill is an absolute pleasure. When you go there, you're going to say, hey,
yep.
Defo, wow, where has this been my whole life? That's kind of the way I reacted to it because, we're going down there, we're figuring, okay, it's another Keys place. Spectacular with food and drink that is just absolutely top notch and a wide variety and so many different things to do. And you're on the bay side there watching the sunset. Absolutely phenomenal, the atmosphere. I liked hanging out at the pool there and having them just bringing me drinks. That was great. At Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104 in Key Largo on the Overseas Highway. Check it out, and we'll be down there. We'll give you all the details on the dates in case you want to join us down there. All right, coming back with more Harvey Fialkov on Little Nadal. We have to get in some Rafa talk here.
Of course.
As, we continue on Eye on Channel in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:14.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place. And that one place is Catholic Health Services.
The championship meet is right around the corner at Gulfstream Park. The only place for live racing, Gulfstream's action has never been hotter. Whether it's on the track, in the casino, or part of the dining and entertainment offered at the Village of Gulfstream Park. Currently running Thursday through Sunday, Gulfstream's racing package is the best in the country, with all the top horses and people in the game pointing towards another tremendous winter season. Check out the remodeled first floor casino, open 7 days and nights a week, along with the many special events and concerts happening at Gulfstream Park. You can place your wagers from anywhere at firstbet.com. Check the calendar of events at gulfstreampark.com.
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. That could be another book that we put out. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. The end is near. You can tell the end is near, man. That you can definitely do that.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Great to be with you here on Ion Channel upon my return from Las Vegas, Nevada. And just a great trip that we had out there. National Handicap and Championship. If you're a horse player, look into these tournaments. I think you have to join. It's like a $25 membership fee. But what a hell of a lot of fun. And a guy makes a life-changing score. Ends up winning $750,000 just an average ho-hum horse player. I mean, that's right out of Rod Serling in the Twilight Zone, where all of a sudden this guy gets rich playing his favorite game. And just a humble guy. It was absolutely fantastic to see that as the winning story. Mike Lubitz, we bring on Harvey Fialkov, and it is great. Harvey, I thought of you. I think I might have sent you a text or two during the course of this. And being on Pacific time, it wasn't as prohibitive to actually be able to view this match between Nadal and Medvedev. And I know you had predicted before the tournament Medvedev was a guy. I mean, he's certainly a coming player. Knocked off the Joker in the U.S. Open. Not an easy thing to do, although Joker, was, coming off one of those Isner Mahmoud type of matches, the previous day, so he might have been compromised. But nonetheless, Medvedev, a common player. Rafa looks like he's absolutely finished in the Australian Open. Down 2 sets. He's down low 40 in the third set at a game that he desperately needs to hold serve. And even John McEnroe started writing the obituary, which turned out to be a premature evaluation. So I thought he ran away. I mean, I can't wait to hear your thoughts. I know you said that, I mean, how is this guy accomplishing this at, what is he, like 38 years old now and banged up from a zillion injuries?
No, don't age it for a guy. He's just 35.
That's still old for tennis.
It is. That's old.
COVID. He didn't practice for like 6 months on and off. He thought his career was over. He basically said that in the press conference all week and even after the final. Just one of the greatest, most courageous comebacks I ever witnessed in sports history by an individual. And I know you told me you were betting on Tsitsipas against Medvedev, and I told you, don't do that.
It looked good for a little while. It really did. It looked good for like a few minutes. Until Medvedev blew a gasket there at the chair umpire, which now you have the experience of being on that side of things where the guy's calling you a buffoon. I mean, how demeaning was this? But I guess the issue was, and I don't know, why don't they allow coaching? I mean, why don't, what's the point of having a coach if he sits in the stands there with the girlfriend and a wife and the mother-in-law and, and just looks concerned the entire time? Why wouldn't you just be able to say, hey, hit it to his backhand, you idiot?
It's time to eradicate that rule. As long as it doesn't slow the progress of the match, it should be allowed. It's ridiculous. The USTA, I umpire obviously juniors, and they don't let 12-year-olds get coaching until they split sets and they have a 10-point tiebreak. They get 3-minute coaching. They're not even allowed to say to their kids like, "Oh, focus," or "Concentrate," or "Move your feet," or else it's a code violation. And I have to authorize that code violation. And I feel guilty because you should be allowed to at least coach 10 and 12 and 14-year-olds. And I believe that all sports get coaching. Tennis should get coaching. It would take away the stupid arguments that Medvedev was yelling at the chair umpire because his father was speaking Greek to him. Tsitsipas admitted afterwards he can't hear his father. He's not listening to him. This guy's a professional. He's got to focus on the match itself. When his father's yelling from the stands, his emotional dad. So that was a ridiculous argument by Medvedev. Listen, he's quirky. He's McEnroe-ish. He's kind of like Goran Ivanovic. He's fun to watch. I love his game. But he took it very personally, the crowd against him on Sunday morning. He said he's not going to dream about it anymore. He has these young dreams as a kid to play in slams because he feels everyone's against him. He'll only play for his family and Russia. He just takes it too personally, like Djokovic does also. They have these complexes. But listen, you've got to realize he's playing a legend. And he's not, and in 2 or 3 years, he'll be getting this applause because he is fun to watch and he has a great personality. So he just got to cool his jets, keep going the way he's going. Medvedev will dominate this sport. He will win 5 to 8 Grand Slams, I believe, down the road. But he's just not ready to beat the big three. They have the experience on him right now. Sure, Federer looks like he's done. Let's see, he makes one more attempt at Wimbledon. But, man, you can't count him out. You couldn't count him out a few years ago coming off knee surgery, and he won the Australian. As far as Djokovic, it was kind of a joke that Rafa won number 21, and Djokovic is sitting home saying, "Why didn't I get the shot? I should have got the shot." So it's a personal slap in the face of Djokovic, who deserved to be kicked out of that tournament. A lot of things were done wrong by both sides, but his was the most egregious, lying on his custom forms, etc. So it's just an amazing win. And I think one of the greatest individual achievements in sports history at this point in his time. Tom Brady's right up there. But remember, that's a team sport. This is an individual. 5 hours and 24 minutes, boys. And Akbarty dominated the women's side from beginning to end. But it was good to see 2 Americans in the semis and then the finals, and Keys and Collins. And Collins had a 5-1 in the second set, but couldn't get it done. She just couldn't get a first serve in after that. But, I just love it. I hate the time difference. very difficult to watch. It affects your sleep for 2 weeks, so my sleep anyhow. But boy, what a treat to see Rafa list number 21.
Oh, it was great. I got to catch a lot of the action, although yeah, I guess you can't complain because and Leslie Visser would argue this with me. Why should television present all of these sporting events, top level events, and offer them to the public for free? Which I don't know that they're doing anymore, because to get ESPN, you have to pay some kind of subscription fee, or they're getting a piece. Let's face it, of whatever you're being charged by your cable company or whatever service you have. Although you're like O.J. Simpson now, Harvey Fialkov. You're pirating TV somehow. How did you figure this out? I mean, it became legal all of a sudden. OJ was way ahead of his time.
Hey, is anybody else listening to this? How many subscribers?
Yeah,
I'm going to get a knock on the door. People said you're pirating.
I mean, you're paying for it.
By the way, ESPN, for the first time in history, ESPN did this, and they robbed us of many of the early matches by putting it only on ESPN3. You had to pay extra for streaming services, which I thought was
ESPN Plus also had like half of the matches.
Oh, that's what I meant. ESPN Plus, and they put it on 3. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of bush league on their part. As it is, tennis is not really doing that great in this country because we don't have any American males on the top. So that only hurt it even worse. I think that'll hurt their future ratings if they keep doing that. But as you said, I do this thing called Apollo Streaming, and I get the Australian channels, and I could watch it whenever I wanted to. Although except Saturday and Sunday, it was on 3:30 in the morning, no matter where you were. So I had to. I got up like at 5 and watched it till like 8. Took a nap, came back, and then I had to get to the tennis courts to umpire. So I had to fast forward a little bit to 3rd and 4th set, and watch the 5th set. Still. Just a treat, just a classy individual. Two of the greatest spokesmen for any kind of sport is Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal. Just as far as just amazing individuals on and off the court. Can't say the same for Djokovic, but he's still a legend. I don't believe that Rafa's the greatest of all time. I don't like that GOAT thing in tennis because years ago, none of the greats played the Australian. Or Connors, McEnroe, they played only 2 or 3 times in their career because it was in December during Christmas, and nobody from America was going to Australia during Christmas. It wasn't considered one of the big 4 Grand Slams back then. It was a slam, but it just didn't have the same importance. So it was really difficult to compare eras. But that said, to me, Roger Federer will always be the greatest all-around player of all time because he could volley. These guys can't really serve and volley. And once they sped up the courts about 15 years ago to increase the ratings of the game, they didn't like it was just serve and volley. The point was over, like in Wimbledon. That took away a lot of Roger's game because he was an attacking player, and that affected, I think, his overall greatness as far as winning slams. Because now baseliners were winning Wimbledon. You saw the grass was worn at the baseline and not at the net where it always was over the years. So I think that really hurt Federer's legacy when they slowed down all the courts.
I kind of liked when you would see Wimbledon and the grass would be completely worn out around the service mark. And then there would be a straight path up the middle, some baseball fields where they have the dirt path to the mound for some reason, so that Pudge Rodriguez can walk out there, doesn't have to step on grass. I don't know why they do that, but and it would be all around the net. Yep. And that was the whole thing. And you're right, they're whacking it from the baseline now. And Federer, that's another remarkable thing. Because you forget that he was like a serve and volley guy when he had the ponytail in the beginning. And one of the most, you're absolutely right, Harvey. I mean, among the most distinguished ambassadors of any sport. And to have the two guys be big-time rivals, and then later on you added in Djokovic, and now, unfortunately, you're thinking, I'm with you. I can't imagine Roger Federer coming back and winning a tournament like Rafa just did. People would diminish, the fact, that Djokovic wasn't in there, diminish the victory by Nadal, and saying, he probably would have had a tough time beating the Joker, which obviously is true. But you know what? You can't disparage his victory for that because the guy wasn't there. And I guess the headline would be drop shot on whatever the big newspaper is in Australia, because if he didn't get, it didn't drop the idea of getting a shot, he would have probably had himself another Grand Slam. So, no, very interesting stuff all the way around.
To me, Medvedev is a modern day Djokovic because he does everything Djokovic can do.
Yeah.
Really, he has the better serve. He has an amazing backhand, and he's as fast as Djokovic. So to me, Rafa had a player, Djokovic-like player in Medvedev, except Djokovic, you got to admit, is probably mentally tougher than Medvedev.
It seems so. I mean, that breakdown didn't help him, although Joker's, had his share of flare-ups, including the time where I think he very accidentally and unintentionally hit that woman in the Adam's apple, unfortunately, and down goes Frazier, and he gets he gets thrown out of the tournament. All right, well, what were your impressions? The football games, everybody's saying, have been sensational. I would agree. A lot of interesting drama. We had our friend Jersey Kyle Martinez, Moneyline Martinez, parlay at 9-1. Both of the underdogs, and he looks like a cinch winner with San Francisco.
Yep.
Especially, I mean, should he be allowed to insult that Cincinnati defensive back? The 49ers defensive back over and over again for dropping that pass in the middle of the field.
Couple of dropped interceptions for Key and all these victories, but I love the Matt Stafford story. Playing with those stinking Lions all those years, that's what made Barry Sanders hang it up way before his time. Should have been, the guy was so great, but he just couldn't stand losing every year. And that was just, I think, the great. His wife fought brain cancer, his beautiful wife, and was a family guy with 4 kids. I mean, what a great story for Matt Stafford to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm pulling for him all the way. Burrows has a lot of years to go to get his. That's a great story in its own right. One of the best top draft picks in modern times. So in Cincinnati, another team, been just awful for years, dating back to the Boomer Esiason years. It's 2 really good stories, but I'm going for Stafford all the way, man, and the Rams. I thought the 49ers had the best defense, but listen, how many years do you depend on Garoppolo? I mean, the guy is just not one of your top quarterbacks. Made a really stupid decision there down at the end. That was ridiculous. What a way to lose. And and by the way, I don't think Brady's retiring. All these BS.
Oh wow! How many omelets are going to be on the faces of the? ESPN could go out of business over this thing, right? They're so. I think people that are in this business, like you've been, Harvey Fialkov, for many, many years. When you see somebody just beating their chest over something, and then if it turns out to be dead wrong, I'm not sure that's going to be the case. And then ESPN will come back and confirm that they told you all along that Brady was retiring, if he indeed doesn't come back. But the fact that there's now even the slightest shred of doubt is pretty incredible.
It's great. Yeah, I love it.
Listen, we love Jeff Darlington, one of my favorite guys of all time.
Excellent guy, yeah. Seems like a real sharp guy.
What a guy. But Adam Schechter, not one of my favorites. He
went to my high school, although much later on, Schechter.
Yeah, he actually had a date with my niece in high school back then. I brought it up to him once in the press box, and he gave me a dirty look. I mean,
he called you an asshole, under his breath, of course. Harvey, why are you bothering me with that?
But Darlington, I love Jeff, and for his sake, I hope he's right. But listen, I want to see Brady come back one more year. Hey, he should have been in the Super Bowl this year. I mean, that was ridiculous that his defense gave up that last-second touchdown after an amazing comeback. But he went out. If he goes out like that, he goes out, in a great final game. And he led the league in passing yards and touchdown passes. So it's like it's like Elway going out with 2 Super Bowls. I mean, just an amazing career, and to top it off in Tampa, just remarkable. But as far as football, who would have thought? My God, the Rams and the Bengals. You would have won a lot of money in Vegas, Jeff.
Oh yeah, probably so. Now everybody told you all along. Watch out for the Bengals. Joe Burrow, for some reason, reminds me of Timothy Robbins as Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption. Slight physical resemblance. I don't know if he's a dead ringer, but he has that same kind of look on his face. Like, he's up to something, that he's aware of something that maybe everybody else isn't, including the warden, that there's a hole in his cell wall. But he keeps coming up with ways to win games, which is great. So, I'm very happy for him. to see this guy.
Oh.
Got off to a little bit of a Sam Bowie start, right? I mean, taken out right away in his rookie season.
It could be 2 years in a row the home team wins in the home Super Bowl. And that it never happened before. That's 2 in a row. That'd be crazy.
McVay should be ashamed of a win no cover. Harvey, always a pleasure, my friend. You're a great American. I'm glad you enjoyed the tennis. I like watching the whole thing. I mean, that's why I was a little. I mean, obviously they have a right to charge for whatever it is that they're doing over there in Australia, bringing you these events. But it sort of discombobulated my tracking of the tournament, which I like to follow these Grand Slams from beginning to end, just like you do. So that was a lot of fun. But congrats to Rafa Nadal, one of the greats of all time, any sport, and a real gentleman's gentleman. Thanks for being with us, Harvey. Always a pleasure, my friend.
By the way, Ash Barty also one of the classiest.
Great. Very classy, very dignified performance by her, and and as Collins, she's not a kid; she's like 27, but she was in there with a chance, in there with a real big chance. All right, we have to run. Harvey, a pleasure, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Care.
Very good.
Thanks, Harvey.
Harvey Fialkov. Hang up already, Harvey. No,
it's on you. We need to go on. You guys were into the tennis.
It was great. I really enjoyed watching. I like watching all of the Grand Slams. I like watching them from beginning to end. I like the early rounds, very compelling, and all the way through. And that was just dynamite because I'm a huge Rafa fan. All right, we're coming back with more. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars in the National Football League. That's how we're going to wrap things up today on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, good to be back with you. And Mike Lubitz here on ION Channel. Google the Defo Show. You can find us and many other things happening here on ION Channel as well. That's DEFO, as you see right there on the screen. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:35.
It's the Gambling Gourmet for Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale. It's one of my favorite places. It is old school joint that's serving Spanish and classic continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly setting. It's at 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. They're open every day except Sunday for dinner, starting at 5 p.m. You go in there, you see Joey and his better half, Sally. They are giving the greatest in service. And the food, oh my gosh, it's paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, stuffed veal chop. They serve this great, fantastic, warm sourdough bread. Go to Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale and tell them that the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves, the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show, here on Ion Channel. Jeff Deforrest and Mike Lubitz with you. And, of course, everybody's still abuzz about the NFL weekend, and that's 2 weeks in a row that they have been the main focus, and a lot of people talking all over the place. It was interesting traveling yesterday, Lubie, that everywhere you went. I mean, you go in a coffee shop, you go in a bar, walking around there on the Vegas Strip. The servers are talking about what happened as they're gathering, getting ready to, pick up their orders there and serve them to the people. It's like, did you believe this? He didn't go for the field goal?
Exactly.
So the NFL very much has taken over the entire sporting landscape here in the old U.S. of A. Always been number one, once it eclipsed baseball, and baseball decided to become very boring. Very exciting. We welcome to the show the agent to the stars and a good friend of the program here, and obviously very much entrenched in NFL excitement this weekend, Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars, and Brett's presence brought to you by will and trust attorney and estate planner, Mr. Michael D. Wild. Brett, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I mean, absolutely great. I mean, let's start with the AFC title game and this Joe Burrow story, where Cincinnati, long known as just a complete bust in the playoffs. Marvin Lewis, every year they asked the question, when are they going to fire this guy? Can't win in the postseason. But he was kind of a classy and distinguished gentleman, or at least so it seemed to me, on the surface. And, you were okay with the idea that they were going to give the guy another shot. But they never won. And then a couple of years ago, Cincinnati wins like 2 games. They end up with the number 1 pick. How were they able, to assemble a roster that, looks like, obviously is on the precipice of maybe winning a Super Bowl and do it so quickly?
This just goes to show you the importance of a young franchise quarterback. And again, one thing that really, as a fan of NFL football and a lover of the business that we're all in, was really concerned about was with Brady seemingly heading out the door. Rodgers obviously can only probably be a couple years behind him. In the last few years, you've lost Peyton Manning, you've lost Drew Brees. You kind of wondered who that next generation of quarterbacks were going to be, because there were some pretty good ones, but there wasn't anybody who really seemed generational. And so now that you have Justin Herbert, and now that you have Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, despite the meltdown the other day, and a couple of the other very talented young guys out there, it just makes me feel good for our sport and our league to know that that next generation of superstar quarterbacks is now here.
Well, it's great. I noticed you didn't mention Tua in that group. Does that, mean that our worst fears might be realized? And obviously, this guy hasn't established necessarily that he can't be that, but, the evidence would seem to lean in the other direction, at least as of now.
Obviously, you could certainly do worse. He's proven that you can win some games with him. He's shown that he can do some things pretty well on a very incomplete offense with, very inconsistent protection. So now that the defensive head coach in Brian Flores is no more, And obviously, all of the moves that were made during Flores' time here as it related to his development and maturation, let's just say that doing the things Flores did by pulling Tua and putting Fitzpatrick in there, that's not really going to do wonders for a young quarterback's confidence or anything like that. So if people believe in Tua, then it's a good thing that Flores is gone, because I don't think there's any way that Tua could reach his full potential, whatever that potential is going to turn out to be. I don't believe there's any way he could have done it with Brian Flores as his head coach, because it just became more and more apparent that Flores was not a huge believer in him.
Flores still having his name associated with a couple of different coaching jobs, although we've seen, 4 new head coaches hired.
Yep.
And none of them are Brian Flores at this stage. A couple of guys are nondescript. You probably are aware of them, but I wasn't even, I wouldn't have known if they were even in the league before. All white guys, by the way. So, the whole Rooney Rule thing comes into question again with the remaining jobs that are open. But, where are the Dolphins at? I remember they went on this, long, we're going to really do our homework on this one and research the coach. Actually, it's been a couple of times. And the first time they came up with Coco Cameron, Cam Cameron, who turned out to be a complete bust as a head coach, maybe decent offensive coordinator. He went back to the college level after that. And at one time they hired Joe Philbin after a massive search. But where are they at, Brett Tessler? Because it seems like, a couple of guys that they might have had targeted, especially Brian Daboll, already off the board.
I'm not really overly impressed with many of the names that you've been seeing in this year's cycle of coaching hires and interviews and stuff like that. Daboll was probably the one guy who I thought maybe there could be something there with him in terms of him doing some great things with Josh Allen in Buffalo, and maybe being a good guy to help bring Tua along. And then Josh McDaniels in Vegas, I think that's a good hire, because nobody ever questioned Josh McDaniels' ability to coach or to understand offense. His issues came more from people management, as he himself came out and said upon his hiring the other day that he needed some time to step away from head coaching to sort of learn some things about how you need to deal with people, and that you can't just come in just because you had success in New England under Belichick and expect to try to impose that type of an attitude. And maybe that's something Flores can learn as well. And so, maybe a little time away could be beneficial. Maybe he winds up getting hired here in the coming days or weeks, because, again, like McDaniel, he understands defense the way McDaniels understands offense. And, he does have some great coaching potential, and he did do some good things down here in Miami. But I think as time's gone on, the more things that have sort of come out, as well as, again, going back to his handling of Tua, I think it's clear that, maybe he stands to learn something as it relates to communication and just some other things that go into coaching aside from just X's and O's.
Well said. Very diplomatically put there. The word is out that you're an asshole, Brian. I mean, is that the first question he's getting at these interviews? How do you respond to that? And that's a tough one to overcome sometimes, where teams are, obviously the guy that's doing the hiring doesn't want to relinquish control to some guy that's perceived to be, a control freak type of madman. Maybe, at the expense of his own job, if the guy especially doesn't end up winning. All right. Now, what do you make of this one? This was a big sports talk debate, Brett Tessler, and we're talking to Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, many people in the National Football League under his representation, and, just been a growing phenomenon as an agent over the last, what is it? Is it 22 years now, Brett Tessler, that you've been doing this?
Actually, it's actually 25 years.
25? Wow, silver anniversary. Nice.
This will be the 25th year, which really kind of freaks me out. But it's amazing how fast the years have gone by, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you were taking Trent Gamble to car washes there to pick up a couple extra bucks. Very humble beginnings, which was fantastic, and turned this into just an amazing career, which is great. But people were screaming. I saw a little Stephen A. Smith on the plane ride home from Vegas yesterday, and he's having a screaming debate with Michael Irvin about whether or not what was it more of a Kansas City choke or Cincinnati victory. Now, I don't like to take anything away from the victors in any sporting competition. But what did you make of Mahomes' meltdown in the second half, second time against Cincinnati?
Yeah. Earlier in Mahomes' career, obviously, we saw him make some of these absolutely just mind-blowing plays where you see him improvising in the pocket and rolling to the left and rolling to the right and then somehow firing cross-body, off his back foot 50 yards in the air to an open receiver. And you still see some of those things from him, and you saw some of those things from him earlier in the game the other day. But it seems like another thing that we're seeing from him that we did not see before are just some of the situational decisions, taking sacks in certain situations, throwing a ball right in the flat, with no time left at the end of that first half. Where the guy gets tackled and they end up getting no points out of it. These are things that moving forward, he's going to have to really pay more attention to as far as being less concerned with making the hero play, especially when you have a big lead and basically are on the path to the Super Bowl there coming into the second half. Everything is situational. There's a time and a place for everything. And I think some of the plays we saw there at the end of that game were certainly neither the time nor the place that as a quarterback who has proven that he can win a Super Bowl and hopefully has a chance to win many more, just some of those things just can't happen.
Those plays were clicking. I mean, every time a couple of years ago, yeah. And then he was Tarkenton-esque in a way that he was approaching the scrambling in this ball game. But wow, I mean, when he fumbled the football there at the end and nearly cost him a shot of getting the game-tying field goal, you thought, that's a travesty. And Andy Reid, I mean, has to be accountable too, right? I mean, this guy, for some reason, gets in spots, and that's horrendous to not get 3 points on the board, which, as we always say, Brett, you can't necessarily say what would have happened had the circumstances been different, the subsequent, occurrences in the game, if the dynamic changed. But those 3 points, obviously, were huge since the game ended up in overtime.
Yeah, you take the field goal there at the end of the half, and you go in up 2 touchdowns. And obviously, if you could do simple math, you would realize that with those 3 points, that game never goes to overtime. It gets won there with that last second field goal. And, we're having a completely different conversation today. So regardless whose decision that was, whether that's the offensive coordinator, whether that's the head coach, whether the quarterback imposed his will and his, thoughts in that in that situation, whatever it was the incorrect decision. Obviously, time has proven it was the incorrect decision, but it was the incorrect decision today, and it was the incorrect decision then. And obviously, had they went ahead and kicked that field goal, I think, again, we're looking at an entirely different Super Bowl.
I was on a Radio Row when Matthew Stafford was the number 1 pick, and they were rolling him around the room there that year before he got into the NFL. And I remember being very impressed with Matthew Stafford, a humble guy. He was walking around without any PR agent or anything. You know how that Radio Row scene is at Super Bowls. It's a bit of a circus, although I really enjoy it. And this guy just impressed me as being somebody that was probably going to have an excellent career. And he did, I mean, for the most part. But, I mean, he could have easily been the GOAT. And I don't mean greatest of all time, but just the old determination of what GOAT meant. If this interception is made in a ball game against San Francisco.
Yes.
And it's funny, too, because the narrative, everybody likes him, much like I did. I mean, he's an impressive guy, and they're all rooting for him. But, I mean, he would have been the source of just massive derision instead of kind of writing this little Cinderella vindication story that he's got going, if that defensive back could have just picked the ball off. And we would have made a nice score also with the Jersey Kyle having the 2 underdogs.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a couple drop picks. Yeah, there was a couple drop picks that LA had too, though. I think there was one that Ramsey should have had, maybe a couple. And so those things happen throughout the course of a game. Obviously, for it to happen in that spot makes it really glaring and really painful. And if you're a fan of the 49ers, really tragic. But, the 49ers had many opportunities to win that game. They kind of had the Rams where they wanted them. And it just they just weren't able to close it out. And that was the difference between this last weekend's games and the week before. In the week before, the two teams that won just flat out won. I mean, the Rams just beat the Buccaneers, and the Chiefs ended up just beating the Bills in one of the most miraculous games ever. Whereas in this week, the Chiefs really had them on the ropes and, allowed them to get back in it and ultimately win. And same thing sort of with the 49ers. It seems like they had that game, but, we have ourselves an interesting Super Bowl here. Again, you've got in Matthew Stafford, a guy who's been a very, very good quarterback in this league for many, many years. A guy who has put up a lot of statistics, but has always sort of been stuck in NFL hell, in a place where they didn't win many games or, the organization had its issues. And in the Rams, obviously, it's a great team, some great offensive weapons there. Maybe the best player in the NFL in Aaron Donald. And then in Cincinnati, again, you've got the young emerging, next generation star QB in Joe Burrow and a lot of good underrated players on that team. Jamar Chase, I mean, just unbelievable.
Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. All right, there'll be a lot more to talk about. We'll zero in even more closely as the Super Bowl actual week of the game arrives next week, next time you're on the show. Michael D. Wild, great guy. I've benefited from his services immensely, I would have to say, and thank goodness he was the guy that did this because, the follow-up with his clients is just amazing. He made this living trust for my mother 10 years before she passed. And sure enough, he was right there to back up all of the things whenever we had a problem, my brother and I, 10 years later. So tremendous service and dedication and a great guy to deal with, wills and trusts, and, of course, any kind of estate planning, Michael D. Wild.
Yeah, and the thing that's so unique about him is he has a lot of experience. So when you trust him to handle your estate plans and you reach out to him at southfloridawills.com, I mean, you are getting somebody who has done thousands and thousands and thousands of these things down here in South Florida throughout the years. Yet, he's still young enough where he's not at the end of his career. He's not mailing it in. He's not going to be doing your work today and be retiring tomorrow. He's going to be doing this for a long time, and he is the very best there is down here. And so anybody who needs to get this stuff taken care of, make sure you reach out to him at southfloridawills.com.
All right. Enjoy this week. And, of course, we'll look forward to talking to you next week, Super Bowl week. All right, will you be attending the game? I see you've been traveling a little bit. Las Vegas, all over the place. Hawaii. I mean, you've been all over the map there, Brett Tessler. Will you be going to the Super Bowl?
Will not be going to the game. Was in LA for the NFLPA All-Star game this last week. I represent Zach McLeod from the University of Miami, who was their captain and led them in sacks this year. And so he did a great job out there at the NFLPA All-Star game. And my last two players that were in the playoffs ended up getting bounced this last weekend. So nope, won't need to head back there for this, but we'll very much enjoy kicking back and watching it because as a fan, I think this game is figures to be very, very entertaining.
Well, if you have access to a couple of Super Bowl tickets at face value, Lubie and I will take them. I'd be happy to scalp them outside the arena and cut you in for a piece as our agent in that transaction. That would be great because they're going to be going for a premium with the Rams in there, I would imagine.
Well, the Bengals.
Every quasi-celebrity, everybody with a podcast, including us, hope to be in attendance. So thanks, Brad. Always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the week. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday. I guess we lost Brett Tessler. I think he had like a business call. Did you sense that?
He sounded like he was ready to go.
Ready to go, yeah. It's like, listen, Dave, let me out of here. All right, a lot of fun being with you, even on short sleep. I mean, we never complain. We're always ready to line up and play. And Lubie, great job. I heard nothing but high praise from all of our viewing and listening audience. And I apologize for whatever that technical glitch was that was happening with my computer there. But it was disco lighting today on the show, which is always great. All right. We'll catch you later on. Believe Podcast Network. It's called After Hours with Defo and Lubie and Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, which I heard you did an admirable job of filling in. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox later on the Odyssey app. If you're anywhere around the world, you can catch it on the Odyssey, and that's a weird spelling like Audacy. Is that it?
Yes, Audacy to get the Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
All of this new stuff. All right, tomorrow we go old school with Tony Segreto. Thursday we'll have our Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Friday, a Degenerate Friday, which, a lot of great stories. A good time had in Las Vegas, and we'll get you set for the championship game, the big game, as it's called in advertising circles. I'm Jeff Deforrest for Mike Lubie Lubitz. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. It was a pleasure being with you, and we'll see you next time as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9 o'clock here on the East Coast.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.